Morning, everyone. So we are on to our day 3. I think I have no idea. Hopefully, your days are feeling very much like mine are at the moment. Just throwing caution to the wind. It's gone. And anyway, we are still on Brazilian folk tales. This one is Why the Lamb is Meek. Meek means timid and shy. So let's get on with the show. Once upon a time, there was a little lamb frisking gaily about the pasture. Pasture is another word for field. The bright sunshine and the soft breezes made him very happy. He had just finished a hearty meal, and that made him happy too, possibly a bit tired. He was the very happiest little lamb in all the world, and he thought that he was the most wonderful little lamb. A big toad sat on the ground and watched him. After a while, the toad said, "Oh, little lamb, how are you feeling today?" The lamb replied that he'd never felt better in all of his life. "Even though you are feeling very strong, I can pull you into the sea," said the toad. The little lamb laughed and laughed until he rolled over on the ground. "Just take hold of this rope and I'll show you how easy it is to pull you into the sea," said the toad. The lamb took hold of the rope. Then the toad said, "Please wait a minute while I get a good long distance away from you. I can pull better when I'm not too near you." The lamb waited and the toad hopped down to the sea. He hopped up into a tree which hung over the water's edge, and from there he hopped onto the whale's back. He fastened the end of the rope around the whale, and then he called out to the lamb, "All ready! Now we'll see how hard you can pull." When the whale felt the lamb pulling at the rope, he swam away from the shore. No matter how hard the lamb pulled or how much force he exerted, it did not do one bit of good. He was dragged down to the water's edge as easily as could be. "Oh, I give up," said the lamb as he reached the water's edge. After that, although the sunshine was just as bright as ever, anyone who watched that little lamb could see that he was a little bit more meek. One day, not long afterwards, the sunshine was again very bright, and the little lamb was feeling again very frisky. He was so happy and gay that he'd forgotten all about how the toad had pulled him down the water until the toad spoke to him. Then he remembered. "Oh, little lamb, how are you feeling today?" asked the toad. The little lamb replied that he was very well. "Let's run a race," said the toad. "I think I can beat you." "You may be strong enough to pull me into the sea," said the lamb, "but surely I can run faster than you. I've watched you hopping about my pasture. You can't run as fast at all. However, I'll gladly run a race with you to prove what I say." The toad set a goal and told the lamb to call out every little while during the race so he could see how much further ahead the lamb was. Then the toad and the lamb started. The toad had assembled all his brothers and sisters and his cousins and uncles and aunts before the race, and had stationed them at various points along the path of the race. He told them that whenever any of them should hear the lamb calling out, "Lacule, lacule, lacule," the toad, which was nearest, should answer, "Gulu banjo, bangole." Well, this is really funny, isn't it? The lamb ran as fast could be. Then he remembered his promise and called out, "Lacule, lacule, lacule." He expected to hear the toad answer from a long, long distance behind him. He was much surprised to hear someone near him answer, "Gulu banjo, bangole." After that, he ran faster than ever. After running on for some distance farther, the lamb again called out, "Lacule, lacule, lacule." Again he heard the answer at only a short distance away, "Gulu bango, banjo, bangole." He ran and ran until his little heart was beating so fast that it seemed as if it would burst. At last he arrived at the goal of the race, which the toad had set, and there sat the toad's brother, who looked so much like him that the lamb couldn't tell them apart. The lamb went back to his pasture very meekly and quietly. He acknowledged that he had been beaten in the race. The next morning the toad said to him, "Even though you did not run fast enough to win the race, still you are a very fast runner, I have told the daughter of the king about you, and I have said to her that some day she shall see me riding on your back with a bridle in your mouth as if you were my horse." The lamb was very angry. "Perhaps you were strong enough to pull me into the sea, and perhaps you can beat me when we run a race," said the lamb. "But never, ever in the world will I be your horse." Time passed, and the sunshine was very bright, and the soft, gentle breezes were very sweet. The lamb was so happy again that he forgot all about how the toad had pulled him into the sea, or how the toad had beaten him at a running race. He was sorry for the toad when he saw him all humped up in a disconsolate little heap one day. "Oh, poor toad, are you sick? Isn't there something I can do to help you?" The toad told him how very sick he was. "There is something you could do to help me," he said, "but I don't believe that you are quite strong enough or can travel quite fast enough." The lamb took a deep breath and blew out his chest. "I'll show you. Just tell me what it is." The toad replied that he had promised to be at a party that afternoon at the house of the king's daughter, and he did not see how he could possibly get there unless someone would carry him. "Can you see where this is going?" "Jump on my back," said the lamb. "I'll carry you." The toad shook about on the lamb's back after they had started, so it seemed as if he would surely fall off. After a little he said, "How can I possibly stand riding like this? It draws all of my sore spots. I'll have to get off." He tried it a little while longer and shook about worse than ever. Then he said, "Do you know, I think I could endure this painful ride a little better if only I had something to hold myself by. Do you mind if I take a piece of grass and put it in your mouth? I can hold on to it when I shake about, and my sore spots will not hurt so much." The lamb let the toad put a piece of grass in his mouth. After a while, the toad asked for a little stick. "The flies and mosquitoes annoy me terribly," he said. "If only I had a little stick, I could wave it about over my head and frighten them away. It is very bad for anyone in my weak, nervous condition to be bothered by flies and mosquitoes." The lamb let the toad have a little stick to wave over his head. At last, the lamb and the toad drew near to the palace of the king. The king's daughter was leaning out of the window, watching for them. The toad dug his feet into the lamb's sides, pulled hard on the piece of the grass in the lamb's mouth, and waved the little stick about over the lamb's head. "Go on, horse," he said, and the king's daughter heard him. She laughed and laughed, and when all the rest of the people in the palace saw the toad arriving mounted on the lamb's back and driving him like a horse, they laughed too. The lamb went meekly home to his pasture, and from that day to this, when one wishes to speak of meekness, one says, "As meek as a lamb." Oh, the end. So the next one, why the tiger and the stag fear each other. Ooh, interesting. Did you know that? I didn't. Once upon a time, there was a large, handsome stag with great branching horns. Antlers, they're called. One day he said to himself, "I am tired of having no home of my own and of just living anywhere. I shall build me a house." He searched on every hill and every valley, by every stream, and under all of the trees for a suitable place. At last he found one that was just right. It was not too high, nor too low, nor too near a stream, and not too far away from one, not under too thick trees, and not away from the trees out under the hot sun. "I am going to build my house here," he said, and he began to clear a place for it at once. He worked all day and did not go away until night. Now, in the same country, there lived a large, handsome tiger, with sharp, sharp teeth and bright, cruel eyes. One day the tiger said to himself, "I'm tired of having no home of my own, of just living around anywhere. I shall build me a house." Accordingly, the tiger searched for a place to build his house. He searched on every hill and every valley, by every stream, and under all the trees. At last he found a place which was just right. It was not too high, nor too low, not too near a stream, and not too far away from one, not under too thick trees, and yet not away from the trees out in the hot sun. The tiger said to himself, I'm going to build my house here. The place is all ready for me, for there isn't very much underbrush here. He began at once and finished clearing the place. Then it became daylight, and he went away. At daylight, the stag came back to do more work on his new house. He said when he looked at the clearing. Somebody is helping me. The place is cleared and ready for me to begin building the foundation. He began to work at once and worked all day. At night, when the foundation was laid, he went away. At night, the tiger came to work at his new house. He said when he looked at it. Someone is helping me. Oh, wrong voice. The foundations of my house are laid. He began to work at once, built the sides of the house. He worked all night and went away at daybreak, leaving the house with the sides completed. There was a big door and a funny little window in the side. At daybreak, the stag came back to work on his house. When he saw it, he rubbed his eyes, for he thought he must be dreaming. The sides of the roof were completed, with a big door and a funny little window. Somebody must surely be helping me, he said to himself as he began to work to put on the roof. He worked hard all day, and when the sun went down, there was a roof of dried grass on the house. I can sleep in my own house tonight. He made his bed in the corner and soon was sound asleep. At night, the tiger came back to work on his new house. When he saw it, he rubbed his eyes, for he thought that he must be dreaming. There was a roof of dried grass on the house. Somebody must surely be helping me, he said to himself as he entered the door. The first thing he saw when he entered the door was a stag, sound asleep in his bed in the corner. Who are you, and what are you doing in my house? The stag woke up with a start. Who are you, and what are you doing in my house? Said the stag in his deepest voice. This is a little bit like Goldilocks. It is not your house. It is mine. I built it myself, said the tiger. It is my house, said the stag. I built it myself. I made the clearing for my house, said the tiger. I built the sides and made the door and the window. I started the clearing, said the stag. I laid the foundations and put the roof of dried grass. The stag and the tiger quarrelled all night about whose house it was. At daybreak, they decided that they would live together there. The next night, the tiger said to the stag, I'm going hunting, get the water and have the wood ready for the fire. I shall be almost famished when I return. The stag got the wood and water ready. After a while, the tiger came back. He brought home for dinner a great handsome stag. The stag had no appetite at all, and he didn't sleep a wink that night. The next day, the stag said he was going hunting. He told the tiger to have the wood and water ready when he got back. The tiger got the wood and water ready. By and by, the stag came back, bringing with him the body of a great tiger. I am nearly famished, said the stag. Let's have dinner right away. The tiger hadn't any appetite at all, and he could not eat a mouthful. That night, neither the tiger nor the stag could sleep a wink. The tiger was afraid the stag would kill him if he shut his eyes for a minute, and the stag was afraid the tiger would kill him if he slept or even pretended to sleep. Accordingly, he kept wide awake too. Toward morning, the stag got very cramped from sleeping in one position. Keeping in one position so long, he moved his head slightly. In doing this, his antlers struck against the roof of the house. It made a terrible noise. The tiger thought that the stag was about to spring upon him and kill him. He made a leap for the door and ran out of it as fast as he could. He ran and ran until he was far, far away from the house with the roof of dried grass. The stag thought the tiger was about to spring upon him and kill him. He too made a leap for the door and ran until he was far, far away from the house with the roof of dried grass. The tiger and the stag are still running away from each other until this very day. The house with the roof of dried grass waited and waited there in the place, which was neither too high nor too low, too near the river nor too far away, not under too thick trees nor out in the hot sun. It waited and waited until it got so tired it fell down in a heap. The end. Sorry about me getting confused with my words at the end. I'm losing my voice. How will I do the reads then? Thank you very much. Go out and enjoy the sunshine. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.